everybody. So at this point, we are now ready for Hamlet Act 4. So I'll be going over that, and this one is quite different from all the other acts that we have in the play. In this one, we have several different short scenes until we get to the very end where we have quite a few turning points. So I'm just going to lead you into those. But first, of course, as always, I want to go over just a little bit, of what we now know as a result of Act 3. So as a result of Act 3, of course, we now know that King Claudius is guilty. And of course, we all knew that, but we needed, of course, a plan from Hamlet to explain that to the rest of Denmark. And now his reaction from the play proved his guilt. So as a result of that particular play, Hamlet is really excited, but his mother and his stepfather / uncle are quite the opposite. So King Claudius is guilty. Now, the people in the audience are still a little concerned and they're not really exactly sure what just happened. However, if you recall, the other person who knew about the secret was Horatio. So Horatio, Hamlet's best friend, vouched for the ghost and the reaction. So he knows, he says exactly word for word, Horatio, I'll take the ghost words for 1,000 pounds. And basically that just means he would bet on everything that the ghost said being true, because at first they were a little unsure, it's a ghost. So would it really be true? But now, of course, King Claudius, his reaction to what happened on the stage in Act 3 has proven that, yes, in fact, the ghost words were true. So Act 4 is following all of that. But one thing happens right before we get to the beginning of Act 4. And if you recall, at the very end of Act 3, Queen Gertrude, and of course we know that's Hamlet's mom, Queen Gertrude calls Hamlet into her bedroom. Now, that is basically just because she is there to have some time to herself. She's very upset. She doesn't really know exactly how to deal with everything that has just happened. But one thing to note is that at the very end of Act 3, she is not in there alone. Now, the king is not in there. Okay, we'll talk about that here in just one second. She is not alone, but Polonius, keep in mind that is Ophelia's father, is there to keep watch. So he is basically guarding Queen Gertrude. He knows she's very upset after what just happened. Everybody saw how Hamlet was very excited about the play, and obviously the king and the queen were not. So she knows something is up. She's not really getting any answers from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So Polonius, as is his duty, follows Queen Gertrude to her bedroom and says, I'll hide behind the curtain and I'll watch and make sure that everything is safe. Okay, so as a result of that, he makes a sound whenever he believes that Queen Gertrude is threatened. And obviously, she was not being threatened at that time. It was simply Hamlet being very upset because his mom is very naive and gullible and does not see exactly what she should see in her husband / brother-in-law. So therefore, Polonius, hiding behind the tapestry, or the arras as it's called, or the curtain. Okay, I'm going to put that because I know that's what most of us would refer to it as. Hiding behind the curtain, yells, and then as a result, Hamlet stabs him. Now, keep in mind, this is huge, Hamlet did not know it was Polonius. He would never have killed his wannabe girlfriend's father. Okay, Hamlet thought it was the king. So he did not see anyone. He just simply heard. And right before he stabbed, he said, oh, is it what? Is it the king? And then he stabs. And then, of course, he notices that it's Polonius. He realizes that he's done wrong. But during all of this, just like in The Lion King, the ghost, and of course that's Hamlet's father, okay, so King Hamlet, the ghost of King Hamlet, he returns and he tells him basically, just like in The Lion King, he says, remember me. Don't forget your purpose. And Hamlet has really been steering away from that purpose ever since he found out what happened because of his hate towards King Claudius and his mother, honestly, at this point, because he doesn't understand why his mom does not see the true side of the man she is married to. So, as a result of all that, right before we begin Act 4, we have another problem. So King Claudius was not in there, okay? He was not present during the whole mother-son argument, okay? Instead, and if you watch this part that I posted, you'll probably notice that it was a little awkward, but uh, you know, Hamlet is just trying to get his mom to understand what kind of man she is married to. And so he does yell at her and he is very rude to her, but keep in mind, she seems like she is just way too ditzy to understand what's up. So all of a sudden, he does realize that he had a chance to kill King Claudius. He was not actually present during that time. Instead, he was in the chapel praying. And he's having a hard time doing that because he's guilty of a brother's murder. And he realizes that. He says over and over again, and I'm going to put this on our slide here, bow stubborn knees. And he knows that he should not be forgiven for his sin. He realizes that what he's done is incredibly wrong, but of course, it's in hindsight, it's way too late. And Hamlet does not kill him then. Instead, Hamlet decides that he wants to wait until he's in an act of sin, not praying, because he doesn't want to have any chance of going to heaven. So that is, of course, what takes us into Act 4. Okay, so for Act 4, not going to give you, too many details as usual, because I want you to read it for yourself. But for Act 4, we have lots of scenes, like I've already said. And when we get to Act 4, the very first scene, I'm just going to label them here for you because I think that'll be a lot easier. The king and the queen are discussing Hamlet. Now, keep in mind that, obviously, both of them know that he has killed Polonius. They both realize that he is guilty, but the queen would never want anything to happen to her son. So they are discussing Hamlet's departing to England. Now, Queen Gertrude feels that he is going to England for one reason, but of course, King Claudius has other plans. So they don't really see eye to eye in that particular case. Then we get to Act 4, Scene 2. So like I said, these scenes are super short because when you turn the page, basically it's Act 4, Scene 2. And this is where we have had Rosencrantz and Guildenstern following Hamlet around the entire time. But they're not doing a very good job. Hamlet has outsmarted them pretty much over and over and over again ever since they arrived to be spies. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are escorting Hamlet to England. And I'll make sure I get that on there correctly. So in this particular scene and all throughout the rest of Act 4, you're going to find out something happens. Keep in mind, Hamlet is always, on the upper hand. So look for what happens with Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, and Hamlet. Then we get to Act 4, Scene 3, super short again. And that's when we hear the king's orders to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Now, in this particular scene, we also find out that they are basically referred to as sponges. And Hamlet says that, they're like sponges because they soak up all of the king's orders. And then, when you squeeze them, they spill them all out, which basically means they tell him everything that's going on. So that is true. Hamlet realizes that is the case, and that's been the case since they got there. So there are some letters that I would like for you to focus on as well. And these letters are to England. So make sure you know what those letters are in Act 4, Scene 4. And then we also have Prince Fortinbras in the mix again. Okay, so he is now getting closer to Denmark because he's been on his way. He's almost almost there and see what's going on with him. But like I said, you won't really see much there just yet because we really don't hear much about Fortinbras until the last act of the play, Act 5. So in the rest of Act 4, it does get a little bit long, okay? At one point, Hamlet says, "Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be bloody or be nothing worth," because he's really tired of just going over and over and over again what has been happening. He wants to just go ahead and make sure that, he acts on what his father asked him to do in Act 1. And we do have in Act 5 Ophelia. And Ophelia has pretty much gone crazy. And it's because of multiple reasons that you should already know, but that I would like for you to make sure that you review and find out. She's having a really difficult time, and it explains that in Act 4, Scene 5, but not just in Act 4, Scene 5. When you continue to read, you'll find out something very crucial in Act 4, Scene 7 about Ophelia. So I'm going to end on Act 4, Scene 6. In Act 4, Scene 6, Laertes is back. Okay, now keep in mind that Laertes, Ophelia's brother, has returned. So I think you'll remember that he was at college, but I also think you'll realize why he has returned. And you'll probably have some definite predictions about what might be happening. So Laertes is back. He's obviously, as you would guess, not thrilled, not happy, does not like what's going on. So as you read in Act 4, find out these things, of course, that I have mapped out for you in Act 4, Scenes 1 through 6. And then there's something very crucial that happens in Act 4, Scene 7. Okay? So, as always, I'm here if you have questions. You know the routine that we've got going on with, of course, the new act coming on Monday and then the quiz on Friday. And you all have been doing pretty well keeping up with that. So, if you have any questions, you know that I'm here. And I believe that's it for Act 4. So, I miss you guys and I hope you're doing well. Thank you.